Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Live the Way series. Today, I have the pleasure of having Paulo Vieira. He's a traditional Vedanta teacher. He is the founder of the Āṛṣa Vidyā Center in Portugal, a center that is dedicated to the studies of Vedanta and other Vedic disciplines. And today, we're here to talk about the knowledge of the self. So, without further ado, let me just move you. Welcome, Paul. Namaste. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to be here today.
So welcome. Thank you. Yeah. It's my pleasure.
So I'm really excited to have you here to share some knowledge about this topic. So I would love if you could give us like a short introduction of what is Vedanta. But actually, I'm also curious about to know how was your journey to become a traditional Vedanta teacher. So I'll let you choose which order you want to answer, but go ahead.
Okay, so I think it's better I start with myself and the journey I took to come here, because people relate to that. They like to hear stories, and so it's very good. So I studied engineering. Mechanical engineering, and then at the second year of college I could foresee that was not the plan for me. So and then eventually I ended up graduating in hotel management, and I went to London. And when I was there living and working in hotel management, I could see that it was not a life for me, even though I was prospering and doing well. And at that time, I was already, into percussion. It was a huge passion of me, percussion. And that was my spiritual side. My connection to music was very spiritual. Somehow I thought that music was a way to self-knowledge, to the world of, the spirits and all that. And so after coming from London, I decided to pursue music full time. That's what I decided to do. So and for 12 years, I think, or almost 12 years, I was a percussionist. I had several projects of ethnical music, and but then when I was in the profession of music, I realized that it has nothing to do with spirituality. It has to do with business, and I was unfulfilled. But thank God, music brought me to meet someone that introduced me to yoga. And on the first class, I could see myself doing that for the rest of my life. It was so familiar, It was something that I felt, I really need this. It fits like a glove, And so gradually I started to change, because the music life started to be very difficult to match with the yoga life, because music usually, you rehearsal very late and you go to bed very late, you tend to party a lot, all that. And with yoga, generally, it's the opposite. You wake up very early, you do your prayers, you try to be healthy and all that. And of course, music can be like that also, but you need to reach a certain, level in order for you to decide what's your timetable. And so I changed my life during a yoga sadhana, a practice of yoga in one of the places I lived here in Porto. Now I'm in Maia, a different city from Porto. I was doing the relaxation part, And I felt this inner voice, really strong voice, telling me, you need to share this with people. And so I follow it, and I start to teach. After that, I started to teach yoga. And that's how I got into Vedanta, because my teacher, he was already starting with Vedanta. His teacher, that became my teacher as well, was also going to India to learn Vedanta. So I was very fortunate to meet my teachers, because since the very beginning, I was with Vedanta. So I maybe 14 years ago, 15 years ago, I think, so a long time ago. And that's how it started. So, and then I felt the urge to travel to India and to meet a real guru. And my guru was, his picture is there, Svāmī Dayānānda. He doesn't live among us. He already had his samadhi, so he passed away. So, and he came to Portugal once, I met him, and the next year I went to India. And then the following years I went to India to meet him and to study and to stay there for a couple of months and learn directly from him, staying in the ashram where he used to live. And then finally, I think on my first year, I heard about this internship course, intensive and extensive internship course, which was held in the south of India, Tamil Nadu, in the state of Tamil Nadu. So I heard that students leave everything behind, the work, family, everything, and go there and stay there for 3 years and a half and study Sanskrit, Vedanta, mantras, rituals, prayers, and so the desire was there, very strong desire to go there. But on the first year, I couldn't go because my mother was having, serious health issues. She has a heart problem. So she had a heart attack, and then she had to wait for surgery. So surgery was in that second year. So I couldn't go because my father is no longer there. It's only me and my brother, so we had to take care of her. And so that course lasted for 3 years. And, I was always thinking, when the next course starts, I'll go. And eventually one course ended. The next one started. Before it started, I went to meet Svāmī Dayānānda, my guru. I had my astrological map, with me. So I met him and I said if it was proper for me to join the course and if it was the proper moment as well. And he said yes. He said he wanted me to be there. And so it happened. Outside everything, I left everything. I was a yoga teacher. I was also teaching Vedanta. And I was also doing acupuncture. So I studied acupuncture after my yoga studies with Dr. Balkrishna. So I was already seeing, people, taking care of people. And I just left everything behind and I went. And then I came. I spent there 3 years and a half. Then I came. And then I had to take a time off, like a 6-month time off, to come back to the real world and decide what am I going to do with my life. So that was the main thing, Not that I need to do something. It's like, okay, what's the next step? Now, if I'm going to teach, let me see how am I going to teach. So I decided to write a book, my first book. There's an English translation for it, Ancient Morning Prayers of India. And the reason for that was I learned so many things that I needed to, organize everything in order to teach. And eventually my sankalpa, my decision was I'm only going to teach if someone asks me to teach. And then I stayed. I had no place to go. I stayed in my mother's place. I had no other place to go. And then eventually someone sent me a message. Are you in Portugal? I missed the classes. When are you going to teach? And then I started to teach, and then the students started to come, and then I founded this institute of Vedanta, where students can join the classes, join the courses. They can get the books that I'm writing. They're all based on the classes. And so it's a life dedicated to self-knowledge. So that's how it all came about.
That's interesting. It's funny because when I was in Portugal, I was also working in the music industry. I worked in television, I had bands and doing live sound. And then when I went to Canada, my wife was doing yoga, and then I got introduced to yoga. I was also doing martial arts, so I studied a little bit of Chinese medicine, and then through yoga I met Ayurveda, and then at some point things didn't combine. So I think it was similar shift on life priorities.
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting, right? What martial art did you practice?
Kung Fu. My wife was doing Kung Fu, and I just joined the classes. It was Wing Chun, Shaolin Kung Fu, and it was very based on the Chinese medicine. And he kind of like, okay, this is interesting for me. It was the first contact I had with healing or cure approach. I was not related to that at all. And then kind of drove me to this new, more spiritual life, I would say, so in a way. And then after that was the yoga, and then I ended up falling on Ayurveda's lap, and it's been carrying me since then.
Yeah. Sometimes we need, our, let's say, old life in order to really value the new life, right?
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I think my priorities change at some point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, one thing leads to the other, and so on. Yeah. Oh, you were asking also
Vedanta.
about Vedanta. No, what is Vedanta?
What is Vedanta? Yeah, if you can give I know this is you can speak about Vedanta for years, but within a short introduction that.
Okay, so there are many ways of answering the question. Okay, it depends on whom you have in front, right? But in order to answer what is Vedanta, we need to understand that there is a body of knowledge called the Vedas, which are the most ancient, let's say, scriptures. And they are given by the Lord, by the universe, to us. And they are like an instruction manual to the mankind. You see, so a baby comes to life, right? But there is no instruction manual. You don't know how it works. Each one of us is totally different, and even we ourselves don't really know how we ourselves work. Because we keep on surprising ourselves. Wow, why did you do that? You should have done that, right? So mankind needs a help, a caring help from the mother. That mother is the Shruti, is the Vedas. So in this ancient body of knowledge, which was given by, the rishis, the visionaries, the ones that capture the mantras that are given, that already exist, so the knowledge is already in the cosmos. This body of knowledge has two parts in what concerns the topic. The first part is called karma kanda. Kanda means part, karma means action. Actions means rituals. So it's the part of that body of knowledge that teaches mankind how to prosper, how to live a good and healthy life. And one may ask, but do we need that? Of course we need that. I mean, it's obvious, people tend to go astray in life. They plan to do what's correct, and then I wouldn't say always, but many times they make mistakes. So we need a guideline, we need rules, we need direction, we need care, and that's why we have karma kanda. So in order for you to do actions that will purify your mind, and through which you will gain luck in life, so that you can be at the proper time, at the proper place, with a proper understanding of life. So that's the first part of the Vedas, called Karma Kanda. It teaches you about rituals through which you can gain wealth, you can gain prosperity, all sorts of things. And then we have the second part of the Vedas, which is called Jnana Kanda. Kanda means part, Jnana means knowledge. So it's the self-knowledge, the knowledge of the self, it's there. And it's in the form of dialogues between gurus, teachers, and disciples. And from there, we get the knowledge of the self, and the knowledge of reality, which is basically a very deep analysis on what is the world, what is me, and is there a God? What is God, if there is a God? So these three things, we call it Jagat, the world, Ishvara, God, and Jiva, the individual, are the main topic of the Upanishads. Upanishads are the mantras, these dialogues which occur in the second part of the Veda. And you have many Upanishads. Among them, 108 are very important, and among those, 10 are they're considered major Upanishads. Isha, Kena, Kata, Prashna, Munda, Mandakya, Taitiriya, Aitareya, Brihadaranyaka, Chandogya Upanishad. And these ones are the ones that we really need to study in order to get self-knowledge. So this is Vedanta. It's a means of knowledge. And as the eyes see, so as the eyes are the means of knowledge to see color and form, there's no other means of knowledge to see color and form. And as the ears are the means of knowledge for sound, and the sense of touch to the touch, in the same way, the Upanishads are the means of knowledge to the hidden reality, which can be appreciated only if you gain that knowledge through the Upanishads. So it's a way to gain the vision of non-duality, you see. And Vedanta, since it is a means of knowledge, implies the teacher. This is very important. Sometimes, and of course you know this, because in traditional system of Indian teaching, teacher is always required, and the teachers are always mentioned. There is a huge respect for teachers. So it happens with Vedanta. Vedanta, being a means of knowledge, requires a teacher. Why? This is a very good question. Why can I be self-taught? This is a YouTube. Oh, my cat just jumped in. Look, here it is. And if you even those people that say, "Oh, I'm self-taught," actually, really, no one is self-taught. You know how to read because someone taught you how to read. If it was not a person, usually children, they learn in the TV, right? And so if you watch YouTube videos in order to play guitar, I mean, YouTube is your teacher. So nothing in life is accomplished alone, much less the teaching, you know. Either it is a teacher like me, formal, teacher, or it is a book that is teaching you. We all require teachers. So really, there's no self-taught thing. Knowledge is shared, and you get knowledge by a means of knowledge. But the thing is that this ignorance of the self, which is who am I, this ignorance, the inability or the incapacity to answer this question truly, who am I? Am I the body? Am I the sense organs? Am I the mind? Am I what you call the physiological functions, prana, pana, vyana, dana, samana, right? Am I what you call the experience of happiness? So this is the doubt. Who am I? Am I the mind? Am I my sense of individuality? People don't know. The child is born from parents. The parents do not know. Their parents do not know. Grandparents also do not know. So if it was easy to teach and easy to learn, I mean,
Everybody would know it.
Everybody would know, right? But it's so difficult to know. And even though it is difficult, it is possible to be known, and people know it. But the thing is that very few are willing to start this process of self-knowledge because they're too busy with other things that life has to offer. Gaining money, power, status, fame, other kinds of knowledge. And life is very busy. So people keep on doing all sorts of things, and very few have the desire to know themselves. So Vedanta is the answer. This is another answer for the question, what is Vedanta? Vedanta is the answer to the question, who I am. It's not only the means of knowledge to reveal the nature, the real nature of the self, but it is also the knowledge itself. You see?
So you talked about the Vedas, you talked about a little about yoga, and now we talk about Vedanta. And I mean, almost everyone now, they are familiar with yoga. Either they practice or they have practiced some sort of yoga, but we are not familiar with the Vedanta. So how do these go together? Is there any similarities? Is there a connection? Are they more similar than different? Can they coexist in the same process? Could you just share a little bit about that?
That's a very beautiful question. So I just wrote in my new book that's about to come, Introduction to Vedanta. It will be in Portuguese. And I like to say that there are 2 steps in self-knowledge. Only 2 steps. So the first step is called yoga. The second step is called knowledge. So what is yoga? What is knowledge? So knowledge is the Upanishads. We'll talk a little bit about it. Yoga means everything you need to do in order for you to be prepared to gain the knowledge. You see, Karma Yoga is the first step of spirituality. What we know about like yoga asanas, like Ashtanga Yoga, that's only a small part of yoga. What's the aim of yoga? The aim of yoga is to integrate the full personality I mean, body, mind, spirit need to be aligned. Not only for the study of Vedanta, but for the study of everything. Now, see how vast is the practice of yoga. I will tell you now. In life, you need to relate. We are constantly relating with the world, with ourselves, with people. And this is the major problem for everyone, relating. Because it doesn't matter where you go, ultimately, you will need to relate to yourself. And if you try to escape the world, finally, you have to deal with yourself, and that's very difficult as well. For many of the people, that's very, very difficult. So there is no what you call passing by relating. You need to relate. There's no other chance. How to relate healthily? This is a question. How to relate in a manner that I become more mature, I grow, I become more calm, more wise. Because what we see, mainly, it's the opposite. People are happy in children, usually, and then they go through the teenager period and problems start. And then they end up adults which are not fulfilled, angry, full of problems. And therapists like Ayurveda therapists, they know all about this, because the body reacts to trauma, and trauma comes from bad relationships. So the problem is relating. So yoga or karma yoga is the way for healthy relationship. It teaches you how to relate with the world. And now comes a very important part of the teaching, which is the world inert, insentient, or is the world an organic living being? Because if the world is inert, not sentient, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You see? Because there's no reaction possible. But you see, the world, what we consider the world, because for me, the world is everything else, including all people, my parents, my family, my friends, the stars, the moon, the oceans, the winds, everything. So it's a living tissue. We cannot bypass this appreciation. So I'm relating to a living being called the world. It's not something inert. And it manifests through people, through animals, through plants, through the winds, through the sun, waters. With all of them, I have to relate healthily. Sorry?
And at all times, 24/7.
At all times. So there is no other. So how am I going to, bring out the best of me and bring out the best of the world while relating? Karma Yoga teaches how to do that. And it has to do with your roles in life, your duties in life, your responsibilities in life. So one has to honor them. As a teacher, the duty is to teach. So how do I relate with the universe? Through teaching. So my teaching is my offering to the universe, is my flower that I offer in a ritual manner. So I try to do it with bhakti, with love. You see, I have my wife or children. So to my wife, I'm the husband. So as a husband, my universe is my wife, correct? So I'm relating to the universe through my wife. So the relationship is what? An offering. As a son, I am a son with regards to my mother. I need to what? Know what is my duty. So the discovery of what is expected me to do, which will contribute to the harmony of the total, the family, the profession. So I need to know all that. That's called dharma, swadharma, my duties. So karma yoga is the teaching of how to relate with Ishvara, because Ishvara is always presenting itself, like you said, 24 times 7. And I have to assume various roles. And these roles, they have a fundamental role behind. You see, because if I relate to the world, and I consider that the world is a living being, the being, then I'm a devotee. So, as a husband, I'm a devotee husband, because through my wife, I'm relating to the universe. As a son, I'm also a devotee son, because I'm relating to my mother, which is a manifestation of Ishvara, of the world. As a teacher, the same thing. What I have in front is students. They are the world for me. So I'm a devotee. I'm a devotee teacher. So the discovery of the fundamental role, the role that never disappears, because I'm a teacher now, in an hour time I will be a husband. And tomorrow my mother calls, I'm a son. My brother calls after that, I'm a brother. So all these roles keep on changing. And life is, doing roles. But the fundamental role, which I'm an individual and I'm relating to the universe, to the whole, never changes. So one needs to discover this fundamental role and cherish it, nourish it. And from that role, all other roles healthily come. This is karma yoga. So my actions are an offering. And I need to do what is correct, living an ethical life with values. That's called dharma, universal dharma, samarshti dharma. So, like we know in yoga, ahimsa, asteya, satyam. So ahimsa means not being violent. And then asteya, not stealing, satyam, being truthful. So all these values, which are universal, we need to apply in our relationships. And if we protect these values will protect us. Rakshitaha dharmaha rakshati. So the dharma, the harmony that is protected, protects. This is karma yoga. And why do you need karma yoga? Because you see, many of times we are pulled to do actions due to our likes and dislikes. Oh, I don't like this, so I don't feel like doing. Oh, I like this, so I'll do this. And this is very natural, because in Ayurveda, there's this Vata guy, he's Vata. So he sleeps very little. He has a poor digestion and he's full of anxiety. That's all typical Vata problems, right?
Yeah.
And so he's thin, he's dry. And then what does he need? He needs to sleep and rest more, do less things, eat properly, and take care of his health. But what does he like to do? Exactly the opposite. You see, his duty is one, what he likes to do is another thing. So people need to know that first comes duty, then comes pleasure.
And this duty is not like kind of an obligation. It's your duty as an individual, right? It's not like duty as something that has to be forced upon you. I think, as you mentioned, that this duty is a reflection of our own self-knowledge, right?
Yes, I mean, by duty, what I mean is that as a mother, you need to take care of your children. I mean, that's the mother duty of a mother. It's not that it is an obligation. It's built into being a mother to do mother's duty. It's built into a therapist to take care of his patients. That's the duty. Duty means you have a role. This role has guidelines. And you need to see the guidelines. What should I do? What's the most correct thing to do here? That's my duty. It's not an obligation, because you need not do it. You can do whatever you want. You're free enough to do whatever you want, right? So it's not an imposition. It's just finding an intelligent way to live life. That's it. And usually, for instance, an example of what is duty. Usually people don't do the laundry daily. And then on weekends, they go and see, oh, so much laundry I have to do. That creates, a difficult emotion. Oh, so, and then he does the laundry. The washed clothes are drying already. How does he feel? Relieved. You see, it's an obligation. No, you just need to do it. Otherwise, there's a problem. With everything else is like that. You need to wash your teeth. You need to wash the body. In the same way, you need healthy relationships. You need healthy, intelligent relating. And that is the basis for that is ethics. That is karma yoga, relating to the universe. See, and because you will find a value in following ethics, following values, you will gain strength, an inner strength over your impulses, your desires. So your mind will be stronger and stronger and purer. And then you will be ready for Vedanta. Because in order to study Vedanta, your mind needs to be free of, confusion.
So would it be right to say that in the idea that you're talking about, that actually yoga is a tool for Vedanta?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Okay. Yes. Karma yoga and yoga is a tool to balance your body mindset so that and Ayurveda comes in. Psychological therapy comes in. Whatever you can do, dance, sing, walk, go to the park, all that is yoga. If your aim is to balance yourself so that you can further inquire into the nature of the self. Because see, what's the problem here? Vedanta means you need to sit for an hour in a regular way for years, listening to the teaching, being exposed to the teacher. The teacher will teach, like I'm doing here, for an hour. It can be every day, once a week. So you need to be focused on that. And in order to be focused, your mind needs to be clear. If your mind is full of desires, you cannot focus. And if your mind is still so much attracted to everything else than to self-knowledge and not to self-knowledge, then you will not value Vedanta. And so karma yoga is a means for you to develop this viveka, what is really, really, really important in life. You see, because if you don't have this viveka, which is an analysis of whatever you gain from the world, goes away. You see, it doesn't stay. And what we want something that stays. That's what we aim in life. You don't want happiness that goes away. You want happiness that stays. You want freedom that stays. You want peace that stays. And what we learn from the world, whatever we gain from the world, we lose. You see, so this intelligent, this analysis, this viveka means discernment, an analysis of what the world has to offer and what you really want has to happen. And nothing can give you what Vedanta can give. And what the world can give, Vedanta cannot give. You understand? Yeah. So you need to grow in the world and you need to be prepared. So the mind needs to be available, needs to value the spirituality, the pursuit of spirituality. You need to have a what you call a deep yearning to find these answers. Who am I? If you're not suffering enough to find the answer, then Vedanta will not mean anything to you.
Yeah.
You see? And that yearning only comes with maturity. That's why you need to live in the world, have a family, accomplish things, because you will know that they are useful to grow, but they don't give self-knowledge.
And now to make the bridge to that, because we're talking about a lot about self-knowledge, and I would like to focus a little bit about, okay, what is this self that we're talking about? And you can correct my Sanskrit, but when we look at the word Ayurveda, we say Ayuhu Vedaha, Ayuhu meaning life or longevity, and Veda meaning knowledge. But then if we go a little bit deeper into the text, they will say that this Ayuhu that pertains to Ayurveda is a combination of the Sharira, the physical body, the Indriyas, the senses, the Sattva, the mind, and ātma, the self. But I mean, we regular people, we can more or less understand, like comfortable with our body and with the senses. We pretty much know what it is and what it does. The mind is a little bit more tricky, but we still understand the concept of mind. But when we talk about the self, it's really difficult, especially when we usually translate the word self as like spirit or soul, which depending on your spiritual background, that might be a little bit more confusing. So what is this ātma that we're talking about? Could you like is there any way to explain it like briefly? What is this ātma that we say self-knowledge about?
Yes, of course. So Atma is the Sakshi of the mind. Manasa Sakshi Atma. Atma means the consciousness, the witness of every thought. You see, in order for you to witness a thought, something needs to be there before. Before the thought, something needs to be there. And only then you can say, I'm watching this thought. So the Atma is the Sakshi of each one and every thought. And that I am a Sakshi, that I am a witness of my mind process, of my mind, that's known for everyone. That's very accessible. If you start to practice meditation or yoga, soon, probably in the first class itself, the teacher will say, pay attention to your thoughts. Don't get involved in the thought process. Watch your thoughts coming, watch your thoughts going. So we all know that we are a witness of our thoughts. And the problem starts here. What's the nature of that witness? This is the problem. So that I am aware, that I am that I have awareness, that I'm a conscious being, that's not a problem. That's very immediate. Everyone can know very easily. But what's the nature of consciousness? That's the very difficult question. So this Sakshi, which is the consciousness, it is limitless, which means it is not confined by the boundaries of the body, which therefore means it's not located in the body. But the experience of everyone is, I am here in this body. The experience is, I'm here, I'm not there. I'm only in one place, and I'm going to be finished. As I was born, I'm going to die one day. And this is a matter of great sorrow for many of us. After 40, many of us think, okay, probably half of the life is done. Many start to think like that. So will I die also? Will the self die? And what Vedanta says, what all the teachers say, is that the self doesn't die. the self is consciousness and doesn't die. So, but how to discover that the self is limitless and doesn't die? You know, so therefore we have Vedanta, therefore we have the Upanishads. But we can briefly go into this discussion so that everyone can have a glimpse of how we analyze, how we discover that Atma is limitless. Okay? So first of all, I would say, if there is such a thing called infinity or infinite, by definition, it means it's only one. Okay? Because if it is not one, then you only have two finite things. When one thing ends, there the second thing starts. Okay? If you have a limitless thing, let's call it thing or being, that's called infinite. It means there is no second. It's absolute. It means it is one. Okay? And let's call that infinity existence. Why do I say it is existence? Because everything is. When I say this pen is, and then I say this box is, you know, and then I say this clock is, this watch is, in all the three objects, is constant. Can you appreciate that? And we every day, 24/7, appreciate the isness of everything. But we never ask, what is? What is this is? We never ask. And this is, which is existence, it's independent of everything. Because objects tend to destroy themselves, but existence continues, manifests through every object. And now one can say, but what is the relationship between infinity and existence, between the absolute and existence? Are they two different things? Well, if they are two different things, that means that the infinite is no longer infinite, because there's a second thing limiting that absolute infinite thing. So they have to be one. But how come existence is the infinite? So look, if existence is limited, let's suppose, to start our thoughts on this, then it means it had to start one day. It was not there, and then it started, and then it will end one day, correct? And so it is limited in time. Okay, now how can we establish the beginning of existence? How? It's not possible. Because in order to establish the beginning of existence, we have to suppose that before it, there was the opposite, non-existence. But can you say before existence, non-existence existed? See the paradox? So we cannot establish the beginning of existence, because in order to establish the beginning of existence, we need a conscient being that has the knowledge of the beginning of existence, and that conscious being needs to be existent. So existence was there already. The same applies to the end, you see, to the end. So we cannot establish the end of existence. So time-wise, existence is limitless, which means it's timeless. Space-wise, the same thing. Wherever you go in the cosmos, whatever is there is. You can appreciate existence. Even before time and space existed, existence was without time and space. You see? So that means existence is infinite. That means that existence is the infinity. Now I ask you, are you a second away from this existence limitless?
I shouldn't be, because I'm part of it.
Yeah. And when you look deep enough, you see that this consciousness, this witness of the mind, is not an object. It is just is. The present moment is consciousness, which means awareness, which means existence. And if I ask you, how much of the universe is contained in the now?
Probably everything.
All of it. All of it. That means everything is in you right now, because you are existence, you are consciousness, awareness, and you are not located in the body, even though the experience is, I'm inside. Okay? Experience need not be truth, need not be true. I see the blue in the sky. Sky is not blue. It's not blue. I see the sun traveling from east to west every day. The sun doesn't travel. What is my experience? The sun is traveling. What is my experience? The sun is blue. The sky is blue. When I look to the seawater, I see blue also. If I go there and pick water in a glass, it's not blue. You see, experience is one thing, truth is another. So you will always feel, everyone will always feel the experience of being in the body. The experience of consciousness is within the boundaries of the body. But now your knowledge of what is the infinite is larger. So you understand that you are this moment in time, which is not a length of time, and which is existence. This is the nature of reality, existence. See how profound it is?
Yeah. And complex.
Yes. See, that's why we need a mind that needs to be full focused, full aware, because each word that is said in the Vedanta is connected to the previous word. It's a process of destroying the ignorance, and one needs to, what you call joined. The student's mind needs to be fully joined with the teacher's mind. I remember in Rishikesh, I used to go there every year, and I wouldn't take notes in my first, let's say, 10 years of Vedanta. I wouldn't write notes. I would just listen. And I would be in a state of full absorption. There was just my teacher speaking, nothing else. So I was ready, you see, I was ready because I was doing yoga. I was also, taking herbs that were doing well to me, balancing my doshas. So I was doing everything possible in order to be the most fit I could be, in order that my mind was fully available for the process of self-knowledge. And that's it. You need to be fully available, and your heart needs to be, open so that you can receive the teaching. I hope little bit I gave you was good.
Yeah, but picking up on that idea, Ayurveda describes a lot of therapies for the body, but it also describes therapies for the mind, because the context is that, according to Ayurveda, the nature of the mind is sattva. But rajas and tamas, being the doshas of the mind, the things that cause disturbance in the mind, take care of it. So the therapies that Ayurveda prescribes for the mind are dhi, that sometimes we describe as discernment, dhairya, which we can say it's courage or patience. And then the last therapy is ātma di vijnana. So it's that this knowledge of the self. And the other idea, it's implied that it's knowledge about the body, about the senses, and about the mind. So I think you kind of touched a little bit about that, but how important it is, this knowledge for the self, for us to have a mind that is balanced and is plain.
Well, that's a very good question. You see, first of all, there are periods in the day that our mind is very sattvic. Okay, in the early morning, when the sun is rising, when the sun is rising, the mind tends to be very calm, very sattvic, and then the same happens at the end of the day. So when sattva is pradhana, it's dominant, then the mind tends to absorb that sattva guna. Okay, so we do have the experience of sattva guna. Okay, when we listen to good music that is not very demanding, when and in many situations we do experience sattva guna. See, but the experience of sattva guna doesn't solve the human suffering, because even if you have sattva guna, you will be ignorant. So the thing is that only when you know the nature of reality, which is when you know the nature of the self, only then and then you stop identifying with the mind in whichever mode the mind is. It can be in the sattvic mode, it can be in the rajasic mode, or it can be in tamasika mode. Okay, so what you need to be is gunatitaha, which means you need to transcend the gunas. You see, so the whole life of Ayurveda is to make sattva guna pradhana. In order to understand what the self is, because if you don't work for sattva guna in the body and in the mind, you will never grasp the meaning of the Upanishads. You need to be, sufficiently, stable in sattva guna. And so Ayurveda is so important. Shirodhara, Selans, taking rajasika, foods from the
diet.
From the diet, not too much exercise is also not good. Resting enough. People don't give much value to sleep, but if you sleep 8 hours and you can manage that, for a month, sattva, if you do other things, will be balanced, because the majority of people need 8 hours of sleep. Majority of people, good sleep. Okay, so, but balancing the mind doesn't mean stop being ignorant. And when you identify with the mind, when you think your identity is, I'm this body-mind complex, so you don't know what the self is, you will suffer because of that identification. If the body is tall, you will think, oh, I'm too tall. If you are small, you will think, oh, I'm a small person. You see, if you are fat, oh, I'm fat. If you are thin, you are thin. And a thin person, he knows he's thin. And then his aunt is going to tell him, oh, you are so thin, you don't eat. So people will suffer because they identified with the body. People will suffer because they identify with their level of knowledge or level of intelligence. You see, they will suffer because of this. They will suffer because of identifying with the persona without discovering that behind the persona, there's this witness of the persona. So unless the self is discovered, which is different from the persona, the suffering will continue because the person is identified with the persona. You see, so the knowledge of the self gives you the ability of being in peace with whichever mode of the mind that is happening. You see, so you don't identify with your mind no longer. So this is a connection.
So if you had to give like one, two, or three practical tips how one can start going into that direction? I know the study is very important, but are there any recommendations that you give for people? Okay, I want to investigate more about this nature of the self. What would be the first three things you would recommend people to do?
Okay, so first thing I would recommend someone to do is yoga. So yoga and meditation, both are together, yoga and meditation. If you go to a yoga class where there's no meditation, I mean, okay, meditation is the aim of yoga. So meditation will increase sattva guna, okay? And then I will certainly recommend, exercise, like walk, like nature. Beside yoga, you need to do something that it can be dance, because it will help you to, how can I say, balance the what you call the hormone system. Yoga is very good. You should do it to relax, but it's good that you have, some, not too much, but some sport.
Something vigorous. Something vigorous to help.
Not too much, but I mean that can change, so you can feel alive. After, for instance, you have an hour walk, it's not a long walk, but you feel good. Something happened, which is different from the yoga practice. Okay, you need that. And then I would recommend also a vegetarian diet. I would recommend, it's very important. I would recommend, and then finding a good teacher, a traditional teacher that knows the Shastra. The Shastra means the Vedanta literature very well, that knows Sanskrit, and he should also be, very steady in his knowledge, so that he can teach properly and guide students. So for me, that's the and of course, pursue your mission in life. Discovery of what is your real aim in life. Like, if you want to be a doctor, you just strive to be a doctor. If that's your calling. If you want to be, I don't know, a sportsman, you just follow the dream. It's very important to follow the dream.
There was actually a question here in the beginning that I think was when you were speaking about Dharma. It says, what is expected of a person? Can you just quickly, would you be able to just answer very quickly?
Well, I tell you one thing. The first thing that is expected from a person is growing into a contributor. So we are born as consumers, and then we need to make a shift and become contributors. We need to contribute. That is what is expected from us. We came to this world with 2 hands, 2 feet, mouth, intelligence. We need to act and make this world a better place for the ones that are coming. So in order for that to happen, we need to be mature, and being mature is only achieved by being a contributor. One needs to find that greatness in contribute, in giving, and then everything starts to come, and it's very easy. If you have a pet, you will know the meaning of being a contributor, because you will contribute unconditionally to him, and you will feel very great inside, because you are taking care of a being. So the world needs to be taken care of. And it's not someone that has to do it. It's me right now. It's you right now. So that's what's expected us to do. Living a life of values and fulfilling the ultimate goal of life, which is moksha, self-realization.
Oh, Paulo, thank you so much for the possibility of having this amazing talk. Cannot thank you enough for coming here today. And maybe, hopefully, we can do something again in the future. So I know you mostly produce content in Portuguese, but if people wanted to get in touch with you, what would be the best way? I can also leave the links in the description. Would be through social media, through email?
Yeah. social media and the website, vedanta.pt, vedanta.pt.
Okay, I'll leave the description, the links in the description below. So, Paul, thank you so much for the opportunity to have you here to share your knowledge, and hope to see you soon.
Me too. Thank you so much, Ricardo. It was an honor and a privilege to be here and talk to your, followers and students, and to be able to connect once more with you. That's also very good. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Thank
well,
you.
guys, that was it for today. See you soon. Wish you good health. See you on the way.